Michelle McGee will not be with us tonight. She is not feeling well and called me just before I came over to let me know that she wouldn't be here. But we do have 10 people on the group. We have one person that had dropped out, Sharon, and from what I understand, I have no idea why, but something came up that she was busy. She did say to me that she cannot participate if she can't give 100%. So I have to respect that. And I know that the select board are aware of it. I think they accepted her resignation last night.
We did.
And we would expect another appointment to be made shortly. As I said to Michelle, I think it's important that we really get rolling. I know the celebration is not till 2025, but time flies. There's a lot to think about as we try to multiply our group in terms of events. I would like to, in terms of introductions, I guess you folks already know each other, so that's not probably necessary.
Those who are watching may not know who we are, though.
Yeah. So maybe
I'm sure there's scores of them out there.
we ought to do it. I'm Dave Clifton, co-chairing the Tricentennial celebration, which will be in 2025. And I'm going to pass it over to our select board member.
I am Mark Lamb. I am the appointed member from the select board.
I'm Michael Good, just a regular member of the committee.
And Dale Carister, also a citizen member of the community.
That I can second, definitely. I know you are.
Yes, I have.
Again, we welcome ECAT, Easton Community Access Television, for covering our meetings, and we're looking forward to 2025, and we're happy to know that they will also be covering just about all the events that will take place. There's a lot of planning that needs to be done. There's fundraising, there's committees to be set up, lots of volunteers getting involved, and it will be the 300th anniversary celebration for the town of Easton. And I did receive, as well as other members, a copy of the 275th anniversary celebration, and I got a pretty good idea of what was going on during that particular year, and we got a lot more to celebrate as well. The minutes of our last meeting, which is a very small crowd, we have one more here tonight, but as we get closer and closer, I think we'll not only going to have our own committee, but we'll have other people involved as well. Although I don't have the minutes of the meeting, I do have kind of a recap of what's been going on so far. You folks that are here do have a copy of this, and even though we don't have a quorum, I would like to take your time, and maybe others will show as we continue discussing the Tricentennial. But it goes back to when the select board appointed the committee, 9 members plus a member of the select board. We had an organizational Zoom meeting on October 25th, which was chaired by Mark Lamb, our select board member. And at that time, Michelle McGee and myself were appointed as co-chairs of the celebration. Dale Carister was appointed as vice chair. The committee members, Edmund Hands, sent us all a list of the Easton nonprofit organizations, which will come in to be very helpful. The first person-to-person meeting was scheduled on December 13th here at the Queeset House in Easton. Michelle posted the agenda at Town Hall as required. Our committee agreed to meet once a month at 6:30 p.m. It's the second Tuesday of each month. Now, it's scheduled Tuesday in February the 14th, which happens to be Valentine's Day. That certainly doesn't affect me meeting. I'll take care of my sweetheart before the meeting. Do you folks have any issues with that date?
I do on my end. At the moment, I'm scheduled for a week-long jury trial that week, starting Monday. If the matter settles, I will most definitely be here. If it doesn't, I probably won't be able to be in attendance.
Well, let's wait and see, Dale, to see if there's any others that have any conflicts that night.
I definitely will not be able to come. I'm happily married and I want to keep it that way.
Yeah, okay. Michelle and I agreed as co-chairs to meet with the local banks in order to start the fundraising efforts, in order to get some upfront seed money. I think it's important that we have some funds to handle some of our administrative costs, things that may come up as we plan and prepare. ECAT, Easton Community Access Television, will be covering our meetings. I gave them a copy of our schedule. I told them if they lose it, just think of the second Tuesday of each month. And of course, we'll be meeting here. We thank the Queeset House for giving us the opportunity to meet. What a terrific looking building. Courtney Pupkin, I'm hoping that she'll be here this evening. She forwarded all of the to all the committee members an electronic copy of the 275th celebration book from the Historical Society. We have a chance tonight to throw out some additional ideas and suggestions for the 300th year-round celebration. Some of the ideas that we have been discussing, and some of our neighbors here in the town of Easton have made suggestions. And having attended some of the celebration committee meetings in other towns, a giant parade seems to be part of their plans. And again, these are suggestions that have been made. None of it's in concrete. There's been interest in having fireworks here in the town of Sharon during the year 2025. There's been a request to certainly consider having an anniversary ball. Someone had suggested rather than do a first night celebration, that we as a committee might consider doing a first day celebration on January 1st. That shouldn't be too difficult, with lots of volunteers involved, and we certainly will talk about that at a later date. There's been some interest in a family bonfire. It was suggested, why not consider a light show on all of the town historic buildings? When you take a ride around the town of Easton, it's truly amazing when you see the buildings that we have here in the town. The Historical Society might give some consideration to the possibility of a bus tour or maybe a walk. It was suggested, why not consider a Tricentennial car show over at Borderland State Park? How about holiday celebrations during that year 2025? Maybe a family diversity food gathering. And how about making some of the town annual events that seem to take place every year, how about making them part of our Tricentennial celebration? Why reinvent the wheel? Why not just supplement additional funds and maybe additional help to make their events even larger than ever before? Now, those are some of the events that were discussed. We briefly discussed at the last meeting the anniversary banners to promote it during the year 2024 and 2025. And of course, We have lots of light poles in downtown Easton. Maybe we could put banners up at the school locations, maybe at the town building sites. These would be two-sided banners that certainly would include the Easton colors. What would go on a banner? Well, certainly you want to put the date, 17/25/2025. And certainly consider putting the town of Easton on it, as well as the 300th anniversary. And on the bottom of the banner could be a sponsor. I know in a community that I'm familiar with, they raised $35,000 just selling banners to hang on all the telephone poles and light fixtures. In order to hang a banner on a telephone pole, you certainly have to have their permission. In terms of promoting the celebration, we discussed signs. We talked briefly about street banners, pole banners, coins, buttons, car stickers. There's a gamut of things that we could do to certainly get the word around, as well as take advantage of ECAT, Easton Community Access Television. Our hope is to involve the students in some way. We'd like to involve the Historical Society for the history. We certainly, Michelle and I, would like to, at some point, with permission from the town, meet with the town department heads. We'd like to give periodic reports to the select board and the school committee to bring them up to date. And certainly involve the senior adults in our community, whether it be through the Council on Aging or some of the housing units in the area. So that's kind of an update of where we are so far. I'm looking forward to having all 10 of us get together shortly, and I know that folks out there that are watching, we have an ambitious group appointed by the select board. We're all looking forward, but a lot of folks have family commitments and sickness that seems to jump into the picture. I did give everybody that's here a copy of the agenda. I would like to talk briefly about the logo and how important that is in terms of us getting started. Obviously, if we have banners that we plan on putting up on streetlight poles, we need to have our logo. I put together some suggestions. I'm going to ask those folks that are here at the meeting tonight to give some consideration of what you would like to see. I picked out a few that I'd like to pass around that certainly caught my eye.
Where did you see these?
I know that...
Did you make these or did you see them somewhere?
No, I saw them somewhere. Of course, this community is known for shovels. So I thought that we ought to give some consideration to what we could do with shovels. I asked those committee members that are here now and those that are not here because of commitments or sickness to give some serious consideration. I also asked the folks out there in the community, if you have a suggestion of something that you'd like to see on a banner, an appropriate logo that we could use for the 300th anniversary that'll take place here in the town of Easton during the year 2025. Get it to us as soon as possible so we as a committee could look at it and make a choice.
Dave, how would somebody reach out to us? Is there sort of an official email address that folks could use if they wanted to send something to us?
There is an official, I don't have mine yet, but I know Michelle has one, but I'm going to give you a telephone number right now if you're listening. 781-690-3666. 3476. And in case you're driving your car, that number again is 781-690-3476. Give me a call. I'll give you an email address, and you can send us a suggestion of what you think the logo should be for our Tricentennial celebration. I would like to pass out to the committee members a copy of our schedule, so you know exactly when we're meeting as a committee. In terms of a banner, I would like to pass out to our committee members. This is a suggestion, it's not in concrete, it's not official. But if we were to put banners together, I'm sure there are questions that we would have. What should the size be of a banner? Well, the banners that I've seen in other communities have been 24 inches by 48. The banner colors, of course, should be the Easton colors. What goes on a banner, it certainly should have the town of Easton, or maybe just the word Easton, and we can decide that as a committee. This is an example of what one looks like. This happens to be the 250th celebration of a surrounding town. And these would be hung on banners. I went through the center of Easton downtown, and I saw 22 light fixtures. The 22 banners could be displayed.
And you're referring to banners now, you're referring not only to things that might go over a street, but also things that would hang on a light pole.
This would be the light pole banner that I'm talking about here, but we certainly would invest in street banners, posters. In some communities, they actually make up signs, and they scatter signs around different locations in the community that promotes the 300th anniversary.
And presumably we would also want to have some sort of a website reference on those banners so that folks could be pointed to a place where they could get more information about upcoming events.
That's one of our priorities, Dale.
The website and the
We're going to have
Facebook
to do
page
that.
as
We got
well.
a lot of events that'll be taking place. We want to be able to communicate. We want to be able to cooperate with as many agencies in the community as possible. Approximate cost would be $300 to $350. That includes a banner. It includes the hardware. And of course,
We would need DPW to be involved to install the banners.
if you notice further down on that list, I mentioned we would have to get permission from the select board to approach either DPW or the fire department to hang them and bring them down as well. I wanted to mention that what some communities do is they put the banners up, the pole banners, during the year 2024 and 2025. They would go up for about 8 months. We'd take them down for the winter so that they don't get destroyed. Put them back up the following year. So when I say 8 months, I'm really talking about April through November. And then you get your snowstorms and all that kind of stuff. So unless we got, say, hurricane warnings or a tornado is on the way, anything could happen. We'd probably take them down so that we would be able to save them. The bottom part of the banner would be where the sponsor's name and logo would go. In some communities, they don't put up the sponsor's logo. We already have our own. We give them an opportunity to put their name up. We've even had, if you got a lot of polls and you get permission from the telephone company, that we could put family banners up. Sponsored by the Carister family. It gives us additional income, and it gives us an opportunity to promote it as often as we can.
Safe to say you won't be putting any pictures of Dale up there as part of those banners.
No, I was going to put my picture on yours.
Your thing.
If that's okay with you, Dick.
I'd be happy to pay for that, absolutely.
I also wanted to mention that in some communities, they waive the fee for major donors for a banner. In other words, if someone kicks in $5,000, we give you a banner.
Mm-hmm.
We put that up without charging them an additional $300 or whatever the cost might be. That basically gives you an idea, and as I say on the bottom of the sheet, these are only suggestions, but this is homework. I want to make it as easy as I can for the committee by putting something out there that you can look at, and then you can add or subtract from it as we make our final decision. But I personally think the banners are a great way to prepare people. We had folks put up their banners and they'd bring their family there to take a picture next to their name hung on a banner, but you most likely can count on a lot of the merchants wanting to participate in the celebration. And of course, we waive the fee for the school department and the town buildings, just to, if they have a place to hang them, then we certainly make that as a suggestion. Any questions that anybody on the committee has about the suggestion of banners? Anything you'd like to add or subtract?
Well, we have to come up with a logo first, I think.
Yes,
Right,
that's
the
why
number
that's important.
Yeah, that's the priority. So, once we get that established, then we can move forward into these banners.
And again, we remind residents out there, you may have a suggestion of an appropriate banner that we could use for this celebration. And of course, the idea of hanging the banners for 8 months during the year 2024 as well as 2025. Some communities, when the celebration is completed, they give the banners to the people that sponsored it. So that's another trip just to give them back. And people save them and hang them in their basements just to remember the celebration. The next thing on the agenda is something that we want to be able to do as a committee, and I don't think we can do that tonight. There are 3 appointments that we wanted to make. One is a treasurer of our celebration committee. The treasurer will work closely with the Tricentennial committee. The treasurer would meet with the town treasurer and the finance committee in terms of what his responsibility would be in terms of funds. I met with the folks in the town administrator's office, and they certainly made it very clear that all checks and donations that are made to the Tricentennial celebration should be made out to the town of Easton. Any invoices or bills that will come in will go to the town hall, and they in turn will pay the bills. We are not the town treasurer. We as a committee have to use the town treasurer's office in terms of what we do. The only way that we could have a revolving fund would be if we had a private group called the Friends of the Tricentennial Celebration, and they in turn would have to be a 501c3. So that's something that may come up in the future that we can discuss as a committee. But we will make sure that we will work closely with the town. We are a town committee. And as I said to Michelle, I know that we rescheduled this meeting, that I'm around during the daytime, and I certainly could make sure that the meetings are posted if she's working or happens to be out of town. Certainly this is a team effort, and we can all work together.
What were the other appointments? You had treasurer, and then you said 3.
We had a treasurer, and then we're going to have a secretary. I know that Molly, who's not here this evening, had some interest in serving as treasurer. And the third one, Dale was thinking of not serving as the vice chair of our committee. That's a decision that he makes. I hope that he's going to continue to stay active.
Oh, I most definitely am. I actually, what I'm interested in is not so much removing me per se, but I just feel that Ed Hands is much more well suited for having that position, especially for posterity purposes. So I've already talked to Ed about it. So when we do have a next meeting of the quorum, I intend to put forward a motion, but it would not in any way diminish or reduce whatever I'm going to be doing to contribute to the committee.
So a reappointment, not
Right.
necessarily a new
Reappointment,
position.
right.
So it's treasurer, secretary, and then the reappointment of vice chair.
Right.
Okay.
And again, I remind our viewing audience that tonight's meeting was rescheduled and posted, and that's the reason for a small attendance. We normally meet the second Tuesday of each month here at Queeset House, and that's a 6:30 p.m. start. On the agenda, we had timeline, a look at when we could possibly hold a lot of these events. I'd rather do this when we got a full committee, but for instance, the anniversary ball is something that a lot of communities do it in June. When will we have a parade? Well, we're going to have it when there's good weather. And we may team up with some organizations in town to make this parade work. A lot of communities do a parade in July. Some do it in October. Some do it in September. People stay away from the vacation month in August. And we certainly don't try to run a parade during the possibility of a snowstorm. So we have a pretty good idea of when we might do that. If we did a first day celebration, obviously it's going to be on the first day. But these are things, folks, that we want to discuss when we have a full committee. I have a sample schedule that I'd like to pass out to those committee members that are here. It's something that we will be putting together as we plan and prepare for a year-round celebration during the year 2025. And again, whenever we print stuff or put out agendas, we always have the logo that'll be pasted. We make sure that that gets around town, that's for sure. But this gives you an idea by looking at this, and you're going to take this home, folks. Give you an idea of some of the events that took place and the dates when they were held. But this is the town of Easton. We may do things differently. We may not do the same activities. We may change our dates and do them at different months. So that's something that I just want to share with the committee members that are here. Event brainstorming, that's something we want to do when we got a full committee. But I'd like to ask you folks that are here, is there anything that I didn't mention that you might have heard about, or you might like to make a suggestion of something that we might consider that I can put in the minutes of this meeting tonight?
I don't have any specific additional ideas except for sort of a broad-based idea, which is I really like the idea of partnering with a lot of the organizations that are already active in town. And I noticed from the booklet that Courtney had distributed, which I guess was for the 275th celebration, it looked a lot of the events that were identified as being part of that celebration sort of were also events that were taking place regularly. But what I'm thinking of is you already have things like, you know, the holiday festival and the holiday festival parade that's attended by a large chunk of the town. You have things like Easton Live that do the music concerts or whatever, so it might be of assistance to help planning for like an anniversary ball. And I think one of the things we'll want to do as we move forward in 2023 is reach out to some of those other organizations and just do a little teaser to get them to start thinking about possibility of including us in some of their future planning for doing something that would be part of the 300th celebration, but there would be a mutual shouldering of the responsibilities for some of those things. So I think there would be a lot to be said for doing that.
That's a terrific idea, and I know that Michelle and myself have been thinking about that. I even listed it in my report, that teaming up with other groups and other activities that have been ongoing, let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's involve them and maybe supplement so that they can increase the participation and make sure it gets on the year-round calendar of events. Anybody else have any suggestions that you'd like to make?
Mike, I'll defer to you.
No, I have more, like, just, I think when we have the larger group and have, kind of start talking through actually how we're going to approach things like with the fundraising. So we've talked about the banners, talked about the last time, that obviously that's like a built-in fundraiser, right? So someone or multiple parties will sponsor that. In kind of just being on social media, I've seen other folks that I'm friends with that are in towns doing similar events or similar, I think the other towns on their 350th that I was looking at the other day. As they were going around to local businesses and soliciting donations, they were then posting that donation, the big prize check type approach, and like already kind of getting like a head start on the business getting some like free advertising off of making that donation. So when we get to the part of doing the committees and whoever's driving the fundraising, I was just curious if we would be open to tiered sponsorships and what that would entail, as opposed to, or is it, I'm asking because you have previous experience, or is it just kind of like an open invitation to donate, we take what you get, or how did you all approach that would be a question. And then if we do tier it, kind of figuring out what that entails, like price points, and then like do they get acknowledgements if we do a book for the 300th, or you know what I mean? So does that come with a page? Are we going to sell pages in the book as sponsorships? Like how do we, like what does that all look like, I guess?
Well, I would think, at least my thought is to have a fundraising committee with a chair, and there would be some representation from our appointed board to also participate in the fundraising. And my experience, since that's important, I have an interest in fundraising myself. I've had a lot of luck with it over the years. So I'd want to participate in some way. That's why I'm willing to go to some of the banks right off the bat to get them to kick in early so that we can do some of the things that we have to do.
But Mike makes a good point. You can't go anywhere without having that sorted before you get there. Whether you're going to go through a tiered approach, which I think that's a fantastic idea. Because if you buy, you could buy one of these banners and maybe a big contributor has like a gold ribbon on it, or something like that. So it's like, oh, that's a little more recognition. And it also dangles the carrot of like, I want to be a big contributor. But you can't even talk about where to go until that's established. The fundraising committee would need to be set up first for that to occur. Which actually, I mean, I know it's an item on the agenda. Committees is an item on the agenda. What are the committees? You can't, it's hard to talk about plans moving forward without the infrastructure built to support that. So
100% agreeable to that. I think that's important. I know we had committees on the agenda, and I know that we are going to end up not just involving the 10 people that are here, but we have to reach outside and think about who are some of the good fundraisers in the community that can join our group and participate. I like the tier idea.
Courtney Puckton is that's what she does for a living, and she's extremely successful at it. I mean, she she raises, I don't want to say $1 million a year, but it's something probably like that. That's what she does. So she's not here, but I am absolutely going to support her and ask her if she will do that. Because if you have a person like that who can, come in the room and say, "This is how we're going to do it, guys."
Perfect.
It's like, all right, you're definitely in charge of that. So I would suggest her.
And she just sent an email, by the way, since she was saying she was trying to watch on ECAT but couldn't find it. So she asked if there was a cameraman here, and I said there are two, as a matter of fact.
Channel 98.
You have a Channel 98? So I'll send another email to her to let her
It's
know.
Comcast, Channel 98.
Is it 98 or 97?
98.
98.
98, thank you. Okay, so I'll let her know.
So if we're talking about committees now, we've talked about a fundraising committee. What other committees do you think we'll need for this group?
Public Relations Committee is certainly something in terms of promoting the celebration far in advance. And they would be involved in everything from banners to poster boards. There's a gamut of things that would have to be done. In some communities, they even have a press conference to kick off the announcement of the celebration.
Or at the very least, a press release.
That's right.
What other committees can you think of?
Well, a lot of the committees that have events usually have their own committees, like there's a parade committee,
Okay,
there's an anniversary celebration
Okay.
committee,
it's good to know.
and again, it does have people who are part of our committee that are involved with that committee of volunteers.
So an events committee
There's
could be a lot of those.
a committee that's involved in running the Tricentennial car show, which could be at Borderland State Park. That's another thing that we need to talk about in the future is the facilities that we would use for this celebration. The committee, it might be a first day celebration committee. You mentioned some events that already have committees and organizations that are running them.
Yeah, the Lions have been very active with a variety of things, and I'm sure would be happy to join in. I was going to suggest is what we perhaps at our next meeting is focus on those committees that we should get in place and operating in 2023, right? Because it's going to be different ultimately in terms of evolution over time, preparing for events in 2025. So certainly fundraising would be top of the list, and then maybe also sort of public relations for getting up and running in 2023. And then
Putting social media under public relations.
yeah, kind of a broad umbrella there, yeah. And then the third might be sort of with a partnering with other organizations, in terms of taking on some responsibility of getting word out to some of the other organizations who would like to be involved with the planning and can put their muscle behind it too.
I found out from other communities that they found the right person to chair or co-chair, and that person helped rounding up the full committee. And I think that's what I'd like to see us give some thought to. Who in the community would be the right person? The bonfire, if we were to have a bonfire, it's the fire department. Certainly they have to be involved in that, but there'd be a parade committee. Who runs parades in town? Who are the folks that enjoy doing that? Rather than just pick out John Doe, you're going to run the parade. I'd rather see us give some serious thought with all the events that have been going on over the years. Who would be the best people to jump in? And they, in turn, would be able to build their committee.
If I may make a suggestion, in the next coming meetings, at least the next two, establish what these committees are. Just establish that. But also, I never, I don't know about you guys, but I never really approach building anything unless I know what my end goal is. What is it I'm building? I need a blueprint to get there. So in my mind, the blueprint is these events. So that's the final product, the event's occurring. So obviously, I don't think in the next couple of meetings we can pick out every single event. But I think maybe we decide on, say, 6 events that are big events, and then we backfill them with all the small events. But so you establish your events that you want to see happen in 2025, and then you plug in the committees that you've built into these events. So it's like, okay, you're the parade. The parade will be one event, right? So right out of the gate, you can say who's going to be responsible for the parade. So now people know their responsibilities, and also when they go out and they solicit people for donations, they have something to talk about. It's not, we're doing a 300th anniversary. Okay, well, what is that? What are we going to do? We haven't decided yet.
Right.
Just, give us some. Yeah, you'll see. You can't really do that. So you can't even go and say to somebody, would you sponsor the 300th anniversary of what? What are you doing? So, in my mind, we need to establish some major events, and then work towards that and backfill with the smaller events.
That would certainly be the first step, Mark, is to have this committee make a decision of what events they'd like to have.
And not all of them, but the big ones. We can't. There's no way we can sit down and say and pick out our 20 events right out of the gate. But we can absolutely pick 6.
Right.
A ball, a parade, a fireworks show. There's 3 right there.
And I'd have to assume, I never lived in Sharon, but some of this is just annual events that would happen anyway, right? And then you just, yeah. So,
Same
you
thing.
already have the Easton social calendar somewhere.
Mhm.
So, and then it's just bolting on first day if we did that or something like that. Okay, yeah.
I was hoping that if we had a full committee that we could make a decision on 4 or 5 events
Yeah.
and then start putting it together.
We could still discuss it, just can't decide on it. And that way, every time, if I'm at a meeting and there's not a quorum, I still promote discussion so that when people come back at the next meeting, it's fresh on their minds and, there's something to talk about. There's some discussion to be had.
Are there any rules? So, only because I'm doing this for another organization I'm with, we're building a website and all this. Last meeting we talked about a website, and then we're talking about, does anyone have any developer experience? Does the town have a website that we can piggyback off of? Do we want to just do a Facebook? Again, obviously we don't have enough people to vote on anything. Do we want to just do a Facebook page and be done with it? Do we really need an elaborate website?
Out of the gate, I would point more towards a Facebook page, at least for now, because that's easy, it's free, somebody can monitor it. A town website, with a whatever it is, .us, that would be more cumbersome.
Okay.
If we wanted a private one, Easton300th.com, that would be much easier to maintain, to update, because if you're doing it through the town, there's things you got to follow, and it's.
That's what I was first. I guess that was more the question. Are there rules of the road, which I assume there are, in terms of websites and the town name and all that? So, when we do have the larger group, I guess I would say, why don't we just pick? I would lean towards just do a Facebook page and be done with
Totally.
it. Yeah.
People don't go to websites that much anymore, or at least not town websites, in my experience. But we have one for economic development, Think Easton. It's a great website, but the traffic is nil. Most of those websites that are offshoots of the main, Easton website, there's no traffic. But a Facebook page gets tons of traffic.
Okay.
Yeah, I would think the website would have the use would just simply be a listing of events scheduled, that kind of thing, sort of like more of a static thing where
Yes.
somebody could go to find information about upcoming events, and I don't think we need to overly complicate it.
But the idea of a static one.
Michael,
Yeah.
you into the Facebook?
I do go on Facebook, yes.
How much do you go on Facebook?
No,
Do you build websites too?
Yeah, no, I don't build websites.
Oh, you don't build websites?
No,
okay.
no.
Would you be willing to do this 7 days a week?
Yes. Yes.
No, absolutely not.
The only reason I ask is because that was the other organization. It's obviously for work, but that was a conversation. They were trying to get way too fancy with it, and we just said, let's just use the platforms that are already existing. It's not, we're not creating a business here. We're just trying to have a central repository for pictures. So we're using Instagram, for example, for that. So, okay.
Yeah, I think part of the challenge would be to identify folks in the community who have those particular skill sets to bring to bear,
And people react. For some reason or other, you get on Facebook,
Oh yeah, that'll cause a stir. There'll be
you
some.
may
some
find
people
people
out
out
there.
there.
we know who those people are.
Yeah, they've already outed themselves.
We know who you are.
All right.
Excellent.
Yeah, timing wise, I'm gonna have to depart in about 5 minutes. I have another meeting I gotta jump in on.
Well, I think we could wrap it up in 5 minutes. I know you have a commitment too, Mark. I hear what you said in terms of the next meeting. Let's get those appointments taken care of right off the bat on the agenda. Let's try to think of some key people. You folks have my email address. I'm going to be looking and searching. Let's put some key people together and get some committees organized. And let's make sure that one of the first things on the agenda is to approve some of the events
Yeah.
that I think we're going to end up doing anyways. They just happen in every town.
Like a ball or a parade. Yep.
The
Absolutely.
fireworks, that kind of stuff that people, because we got to talk about where all this stuff would take place once we get it organized. You just can't have fireworks anywhere. And
You can. It might be illegal though.
yeah. But is there anything under new business, any final comment that you folks would like to make before we sign off? A big thank you out there to Sharon Community Television for...
Easton.
I'm sorry.
No free plugs for sure.
That's it, cut them off. It's done.
PCAT, Easton Community Access Television. But is there anything else that you'd like to...
So we'll just have to confirm that the 14th works for the larger group? Is that where we're leaving it for that? Just we'll figure that out via email?
Say that again, Mike?
So the 14th, the next
February.
meeting, we're just
Oh.
going to figure out if that's going to be the actual date, and we'll just sort that out via email and go from there?
Yeah, between Michelle and I, we'll find out if the 14th is okay.
I would think you and Michelle might want to give some thought to just bumping back to March, because you're doing it on Valentine's Day, and I think other committee members are probably going to have some problems with the scheduling and so forth. And I think in the next one, we want to make sure we have a quorum, right, to take care of some of those things. But I'll leave it up to you guys, but I just think there may be a problem getting a quorum for that meeting as well.
I'm away in March,
Okay.
I should say February 24th through March 5th.
But it's the second Tuesday, right? So and looking at our calendar here, the March one would be the March 14th as well. So just something to think about. And I agree with what Mark said earlier, that it's helpful. I forgot about this meeting until Mike sent the question this morning. I think having something where you click on it and then it appears on your calendar is the easy, one button click thing that will make it a little easier so that it'll stick in folks' calendars.
I know Michelle knows how to do that.
Well-
It's the meeting, what do they call it? When you get the invite,
I'm on Facebook.
and it automatically goes to your, it's exactly what you're talking about. What is that called though?
Yeah, it's not Evite, it's something different on the send out like
Like an Outlook?
But I
Teams
normally,
or whatever it might be.
Meeting invite.
Yeah, meeting it, yeah.
what
Yeah,
I
so it automatically
normally,
goes to your calendar.
what I normally do is I send out the agenda with the notice of the meeting, and then I send a reminder when we get close to the meeting. I didn't do that this time because I wasn't sure what Michelle was doing. I wanted to touch base with her before I did my thing. But that's something that her and I can work out,
Okay.
Okay.
just to give people a reminder. I'm glad you brought that up, Dale.
Okay.
So that's going to wrap it up for our meeting today. We look forward to the next meeting, and most important of all, we look forward to the Tricentennial celebration in 2025.
And thank you, by the way, for all of this. This is great,
thank
with all
you.
of the work product on that. Very, very helpful. Thank you. Alrighty then.
My apologies, having worked in the town of Sharon for 30 years.
Yeah.
That's it. You're not going to be featured anymore. There's going to be a big black star in front of your face. That's what happens, you know.
We're not live anymore, right?